What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turf Talk. We are back. What we call this season two, I guess, to kick off the season two. Getting started with the Eagles off-season edition. Of course, I'm here, your host at Scotty Drown, and of course, we got my co-host here at Dylan JD98, Dylan Davis. You guys know him. And of course, make sure you're following DSM Media at DSM_media on Twitter, at DSM.DoSomethingMajor on Instagram, and at DSM Media on TikTok. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. Keep the content coming, right? But Dylan, my man, happy to be back here with you. I'm excited for some NFL talk. So what we got the Eagles off season. We're going to talk about that, just some of the acquisitions, some of the losses. And then, of course, we're going to get into the schedule and get the way too early schedule record predictions, I guess you could say. But Dylan, how are you doing on this fine Sunday, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm sunburnt. the first hot day of the almost summer, you can call it, got me. But yeah, we've been wanting to do an episode of Turf Talk for a little while now, ever since the schedule came out. But my man Scotty was a little busy getting engaged. So congratulations to my co-host of Turf Talk and his new fiance, Alexis. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. We thought the Eagles had a easy schedule last year, specifically towards the end of their season. This one on paper looks to be 100 times easier. So I can't wait to break it down. I feel like our outcomes or our predictions are going to sound a little ludicrous. With a second-year head coach in Sirianni, with a second-year quarterback in Jalen Hurts, and we don't know what we had there, but good things ahead for the Eagles. And then obviously with the way Howie Roseman, I can't believe I'm saying these words, the way Howie Roseman has been absolutely crushing this offseason is amazing to me. So we could start there, man.
Yeah. Let's start there. Howie Roseman. I mean, we all have to do a little bit of backtracking. I know there was some optimistic people out there with Howie, and he had. Let's be honest. He did have a ton of resources to work with this offseason. Once again, give credit where it's due. He was able to gather those resources in order to create the flexibility that he's created this offseason. And it's crazy what a year can do, right? If you were, just looking back just before last season, how grim everything was looking. But we did always look at this offseason and maybe even next offseason as that light at the end of the tunnel. And so far, Howie is fulfilling that, right? Like he's making the upgrades that we wanted him to make. Now, do you want to just start at the top? Do you want to start with the biggest one of the offseason? I mean, in my opinion, it's the one I was most excited about. I know you texted me right when it happened, but the trade for AJ Brown. I mean, just talk about solidifying the wide receiver position. You give up a first-round pick and a third-round pick. You end up signing him to a 4-year, $100 million extension, $57 million guaranteed. Nothing crazy about that. This guy is 24 years old, my man. So let's start at the top. How does it feel to have like a solidified? We thought Devontae Smith, and we still do think he can be a wide receiver one. You have a wide receiver one in AJ Brown. How are you feeling with that?
Well, that was one of the biggest holes on this team, right? Was the wide receiver room. We loved what we saw out of Devontae Smith in year one, but you saw specifically in the playoff game in Tampa the issues that not only the quarterback was having, but that the wide receivers were having as well. So what does this trade do? Well, the biggest part is that you immediately extended him. So this is not a 1 year, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts kind of prove it type of thing. This is AJ Brown, like you said, 24 years old. People forget that, I think, that he's only 24. To help build. Now he's a piece to build around. He's not just here for a year or two. You can build around AJ Brown now. What does he do? He's a solidified top 10 wide receiver, if not higher. Like he might be top 8, top 7. He's solidified top 10 wide receiver. When is the last time we were able to say that? As Eagles fans, realistically, T.O. Like I know we love D-Jax,
We
We
love
love
Jeremy Maclin.
Macklin.
Top 10
When we signed
solidified.
Alshon wasn't top 10 this like
Top
that
10?
heading into that
No,
year. No,
I don't think
this
so.
is humongous. He's going to help Devontae Smith. Because now Devontae Smith is not going to see a lot of one-on-one. He's going to get a lot more one-on-one matchups and not with the opposing team's number one corner.
Yeah.
So it's going to free up Devontae Smith. It's going to free up Dallas Goedert having those two wide receivers, Quez Watkins. It's going to do a lot for everybody else, but specifically for Jalen Hurts. You go out and you bring in a big-bodied high catch radius type of receiver in AJ Brown, a guy where, Jalen doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate to get him open. He's not going to have to throw him open, right? He's going to do a lot for his progression. He loves the intermediate stuff. So it's not like, oh, you didn't go out and, sign another deep threat where Jalen's got to work on his deep ball. No,
Right.
He's going to work the middle of the field. He's going to work the short to intermediate stuff, and he can still beat you deep. And then he's one of the hardest guys to bring down in all the NFL. He's probably the best yak receiver, or if not one of the best yak receivers in the game. It helps everybody, and it helps this offense tremendously because now it's a true weapon Nick Sirianni has at his disposal.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said there. Just specifically talking about, the effect that it can have for Devontae Smith. You look at these two guys, they're two completely differently built wide receivers as far as stature. AJ Brown is just humongous.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, he's tough to bring down. And that's kind of a facet of the offense that we just didn't have. Like we were sitting here coveting guys like Deebo Samuel, who could really just turn something or nothing into something, I guess you would say. But Devontae Smith ultimately gets to learn from an even better wide receiver, right? Like AJ Brown is at the top of his class in the NFL right now, so it's beautiful for that. But your point about Jalen Hurts, I think that's the biggest thing. And Chile pointed it out here. They're bros too on top of that. So like they're gonna have that chemistry off the field where they'll be able to work on certain things and maybe even create certain niche type of routes that we've been begging for in an Eagles offense the last couple of years is those automatic plays, right? When you see Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes is rolling out to the right and he's doing an out route, that's a first down. Nobody can stop that. And I'm hoping that Jalen Hurts can develop those type of plays with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert, because these guys are going to be scattered all over the field, which means this defense is going to be wide open. And then you're not even talking about Jalen Hurts, who does have the capability with his legs. I'm not going to sit here and like hype Jalen Hurts on this train, but he has so much around him that, come on, like you got to get up into – and let's be honest, what do we need Jalen Hurts to really be this season? Like you said, just at the very least, minimally better than what he was last year. Maybe a top 13 to top 12 quarterback. Like that's not asking too much, right?
Right.
But
no, I'm 100% with you. And if we don't thank Jalen Hurts for anything else, we can at least thank him for being probably the reason AJ Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle. And look, I haven't seen it yet. I hope he goes out and proves me wrong, and we'll get into the Jalen Hurts conversation later on in this episode. But AJ Brown has to see something, right? Like I know they're boys, right? So he's going to have his boys back, and but if they're working out together, you think AJ Brown comes here and signs here long term to play with his boy? If there's not something there. When they're working out in Texas or wherever they were working out this offseason, if there's not something there with his arm, so you can just hope for the progression. What's amazing, Scotty, is this move was on draft night.
Right.
So Howie Roseman, we were all clamoring, right? We thought it was going to be Jameson Williams when they moved up, and this wide receiver draft class was so deep, and you see all the names fly off the board in the first round. I mean, is there a better wide receiver than AJ Brown in this draft class? I mean, maybe, but I highly doubt it.
No.
So you essentially, I mean, you did not draft AJ Brown, but you get my point. Like everyone wanted Jameson Williams or a high valued wide receiver in this draft, and on draft night, round one, you traded for a top 10 wide receiver. He absolutely crushed that night. And we could talk about the first round draft pick. I don't know if he crushed that yet, but we'll see. Howie Roseman, you have to give him credit because this has been one of the most crazy, most chaotic NFL off seasons, maybe in the history of the league, right? And all these teams are out here making power moves to go out and get better. You see what the Chargers are doing loading up defensively. You see the Broncos in that division go out and get Russell Wilson. You see all the quarterback movement and all the big names moving around the league, division to division. And a lot of people, including myself, believe that the Eagles and Howie Roseman have had the best offseason so far. So, in one of the craziest, chaotic, busy NFL offseason, the Eagles have won that offseason.
Yeah.
You have to tip your cap to them.
And I think, that argument stems. I think some people will look from the outside and like I had some people telling me that Miami had a better offseason. They brought in Tyreek Hill. They did this, they did that. The Raiders had a great offseason. They brought in Devontae Adams. Down the line, there's a ton of movement this offseason. You had Amari Cooper to the Browns. You had Deshaun Watson to the Browns. Like, I get it. But when you look at the offseason, and it's not even over yet, but from a holistic standpoint of from early free agency to draft night to late draft days, right? Like the later parts of the draft, then to after draft night. So now we have James Bradbury, which we'll get to in a little while, but just covering it across the board all the way to the point where people forget that he moved a first round pick into next year so that we have two. So like he has covered us even into next offseason as far as draft compensation. God willing, if Jalen Hurts fucking sucks, then we have to move on. We have to go out and get a quarterback. Then we have the ammunition.
Yeah, either way, it's okay. What he essentially has done is put everything Jalen Hurts could possibly need and want around him to succeed. He's given Nick Sirianni everything at his disposal now offensively, giving Jonathan Gannon everything at his disposal defensively, and we'll get into him as well later. And he's basically saying, okay, here you go. And Jalen, if you're the guy, if you prove that you're the guy, fantastic. Now we have 2 first-round draft picks next year to help bolster the roster. Or Jalen's not the guy. Okay, we have 2 first-round draft picks next year to either move them for a quarterback or draft a quarterback in a deeper quarterback class next year compared to this one. So he's covered, he's covered his ass here. He's whatever direction they need to go quarterback-wise, they're going to be okay. It just makes life a lot easier if Jalen Hurts proves to be the future of the Eagles.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about that.
Creates a ton of flexibility if Jalen Hurts can be anything close to the guy. Creates a ton of flexibility.
We have a lot more guys to get to, and we have to talk about the draft and defensively what they've done. But I've never seen... How do I say this? I've never seen a dude fill so many holes and still have still be okay if things go south in the future. Yeah. In my mind, heading into draft night, I understood the moving a pick into next year, to help if you need that. My brain's just scrambling right now. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to use here. But in my mind, I thought if they moved a pick, this offseason wasn't going to look that good. This was just going to be another. Yeah. He's absolutely crushed it, and they're covered next year.
He's turned that into
insurance. Insurance. Jesus, there's the word. As insurance next year.
But no, he's turned moving that pick into next season into an afterthought with everything that he's been able to do this offseason.
Exactly.
And to your point, I think, with the holes that he's filled this offseason, none of them were reaches. None of them were I'm sending out a 2-3 year contract to a guy that I don't know is going to be worth it. Nothing like that. It was very similar to last offseason with Eric Wilson, Ant Harris, which those things may or may not have worked out, whatever you want to sum that up to. Obviously, Eric Wilson didn't, but You look at some of the other guys, like even as simple as Zach Pascal, like in the
Oh,
grand scheme, at first we were like,
dude.
what, what the fuck? Like, is this how we're, securing our wide receiver position? But then you look at it after the
Right.
draft, after you get AJ Brown,
Right.
it looks a lot better as
Oh,
maybe Zach
I've
Pascal's your fourth wide
yeah, bro.
receiver. Like, that's
I'm
awesome.
hyped for it now. Like I said this to Kata the other day. Like he looks appealing now.
He
Before it
does.
was like, wow. Like Zach Pascal's our number 2 wide receiver. Miss me with the Quez. Zach Pascal would
Yeah.
be the number 2. Quez would be
Yeah.
number 3. Not no more.
No.
And it's like, okay, well, Zach Pascal's averaged over 500 yards receiving and 4 or 5 touchdowns his last 2 years in Indianapolis with Carson Wentz and Philip Rivers as his QBs. And he was there. He was surrounded by what? Michael Pittman Jr.,
Right.
Mo Wally, Cox. Like, there weren't guys taking attention away from him from opposing defenses. He comes here as your third or fourth depth option. Zach Pascal looks appealing in this offense now.
Yeah. You talk about a guy that's physical, a guy that, is obviously a good run blocker as well. And you talk about, like, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, just kind of pivoting back to AJ Brown, but just the after the catch, because we know
Yeah.
Sirianni likes those wide receiver screens. He likes those little dump off passes. And when you have, let's say, Zach Pascal and AJ Brown on the same side of the field against 2 DBs or maybe even 3 DBs, you're talking about big ass AJ Brown running behind a great run blocking and screen setting Zach Pascal at wide receiver. And that's not even to say Zach Pascal isn't good at actually being a wide receiver as well. He's better than J-Jaw, right? Like he's not just out
J-Jaw
there
the tight end now.
for physicality, but yeah, J-Jaw the tight end. But
Listen,
no, I'm excited.
isn't it crazy how much one player, how much one guy can change your view on things?
Yeah,
Like
it is.
90% of this offseason has been defensive, like focused on the defense, right? Which is great. That's where the more holes lied, and we'll get to all those in a second. But offensively, they drafted Jason Kelsey's replacement in Cam Jurgens in the second round. Okay. Probably not going to see much of him this year unless his depth is needed, right?
Right.
Other than that, what did they do offensively? They made 2 moves. We just talked about him. Zach Pascal, okay, depth wide receiver. AJ Brown changes everything.
Yeah.
Like changes everything when you go out and get a superstar, young, exciting, top 10 at his position type of player. Because now the offense just seems fun and explosive and dynamic. And if you don't make that move, we're like, oh, wow, well, the defense looks really good on paper, but they didn't do anything offensively.
Yeah.
And all they did was really make one move. But he absolutely crushed that one move out of the ballpark.
And that's what helps when you have like your stability or your foundation in place as far as like the offensive and defensive lines. Like, yes, he drafted Jordan Davis first round and he drafted Cam Jurgens second round, right? But nonetheless, you're still building those foundations. And when you have those foundations, all you have to do is in certain situations is just plug guys in. And that's kind of what you can do with AJ Brown. And it just makes guys like Quez, it makes guys like even Miles Sanders in the backfield, Jalen Hurts. It makes all these guys look better. And it's exciting nonetheless. But I definitely want to talk about the defense. Obviously, we've been beating around the bush with it. So where do you want to start with the defense? Do you want to start with the first big signing of the offseason?
Yeah, we can do that. And then we get into draft night, and then we can get into the latest free agent acquisition by Howie Roseman. But yeah, Hassan Reddick is home.
Yes. And I know we were all really excited for this one. And it's one that you kind of could have predicted that Howie was going to go after him, him being homegrown, obviously, in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. Man, how many sacks in the last 2 seasons? I think it was 26 and a half, or was it 23 and a half?
23 and a half, I think.
23 and a half sacks. You talk about that's the best numbers. It automatically he comes in. He's the best pass rusher on the team.
Oh, 100%.
By far, right? So just looking at that, and then you bring back Derek Barnett, which I know we were maybe not as big a fan of that. But as a depth guy, it looks okay, right? Like, I guess if he's your second
Eh.
right defensive tackle, but
I just
you got
view
Josh
Derek
Sweat.
Barnett as a net negative. Like I just
He
I
can
don't I
be.
don't
Yeah.
understand. Okay, great. He's a depth guy. I think he's another example of the one thing that I can still flaw Howie for is not being able to admit when
When
he's
you're wrong.
wrong on a pick. That's a first round draft pick we're talking about in
Yeah.
2016. And 6 years later, we're bringing him back to be a depth guy. Now you messed up, and not only should he not have been a first round draft pick, he's not overly productive, and he just continuously does stupid things
Yeah.
every year. I don't know how the coach is caught on camera, like just like Alec Bowen was caught. Nick Sirianni was caught saying it's always him. How does that guy come back? Because I promise you, by week 2, Monday Night Football at the Link home opener, when he gets hit with roughing the passer or a late hit or does something stupid, unnecessary roughness, we're going to be talking about the same thing over and over again. So I just didn't understand that one. I just, give me new energy. Give me,
Yeah.
The lack of stupidity in the locker room, right? But the first one we're discussing here in Hassan Reddick, yes, he's going to be your edge. He's going to be your number one edge rusher. Yes, he's going to be playing up on the line. But Scotty, what is he really? He's a linebacker.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me repeat that. Linebacker. Something the Eagles have not prioritized since the Axeman has been here.
Yeah.
And then not only does he do that, he goes and gets another one and possibly the steal of the draft in round 3, which we'll get into. But with Hassan Reddick, again, it's to me, I look at it the same thing as A.J. Brown. It's not just what is he going to be able to do. It's what he's going to do for everybody else.
Yeah.
What he's going to be able to do for Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave and Jordan Davis now and Brandon Graham on that defensive line. He's going to free up one-on-one battles for those guys who are normally seeing doubles, right? He's going to help everybody. He's going to help the DBs as the newest signing had brought up in the scheme. So it's not just what Hassan Reddick's going to be able to do and how productive he can be coming off the edge. It's how he's going to be able to free up everybody else on that defensive line.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Just the way he fits into Gannon's defense too. He's like the
Supposedly
perfect piece that you supposedly could put into Gannon's defense, like you said there. But no, and then you talk about another guy that they brought in at linebacker, Kaiser White, which you could call him a project, but I mean, what the guy had over 100 tackles last season.
Yeah, man, he's a solid linebacker.
And you
He
bring him
can
in on a
cover.
1 year, $5 million deal. There's no risks there.
No risk. He was a solid linebacker for the Chargers last year. He can cover, which is something we have not been able to say about Eagles linebackers in the past. Dude, all of a sudden, this room went from the worst in the NFL. Like, no, trust me when I say that, the worst in the NFL to one of the strengths of the defense when you look at the room as a whole and what's going to be out there this season. He's a nice player. There's nothing else to really say about it.
Yeah.
He might come away with an interception or two this year. He can tackle in open space. He can cover. He's athletic. He's quick. He can do a lot of things for your defense.
And that's all you need him to do in reality. And, just kind of piggybacking off your point there, just looking at the linebacking room, I mean, you talk about a position group that looked like it was going nowhere for the Eagles, right? Like like you said, it was one of the worst in the NFL. There was a point where we were calling Alex Singleton the best linebacker on our team. And we even went through a period where Nate Jerry was like the cover guy in our linebacker group. Like we've had to deal with the worst. And now you look in that room and you got guys like Kaiser White, you got Hassan Reddick, you got TJ Edwards is still there, who had a good season last year.
Sean Bradley.
You have Davion Taylor. He got injured down the stretch, but he showed signs at some points. But then
and you know what the best part is, Scotty?
You add a Nakobe Dean,
Yeah, exactly.
who's a genius on the defense, can run the defense, comes from a
Hold on.
pedigreed college program. So you've added such a good mix of Davion Taylor, who's like a raw talent, TJ Edwards, who works hard, Nakobe Dean does all of it, right? So it's pretty incredible what they've been able to gather there just in one off season once again.
Listen, you go down the depth of this room now, and the most beautiful part about it is, don't get me wrong, TJ Edwards, nice player. Sean Bradley could be something, I guess, right? Davion Taylor could be something, hell of an athlete, quick as shit. They're not even going to start. If the linebacking room goes the way it should, it will be Hassan Reddick, Kaiser White, and Nakobe Dean. So all those names that we've had to struggle with and had to watch out there on the field the last couple of seasons, they're your backups now. Beautiful. Problem solved. I can deal with TJ Edwards and Sean Bradley in a lesser capacity.
Yeah.
Right? So the linebacking room has now suddenly become a strength. And I guess we can get into the Nakobe Dean draft pick now in the third round. Dude, you got the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying it, right? A dude that was he was mocked to go to the Eagles at like 16 early on in March, in February, right? Yeah. He slips because of injury concerns and does he need surgery or whatever. I don't know what people were I mean, knock on wood, everything, stays the way it's going. He's on the field already.
Yeah.
So I don't know what people were getting turned off about with him, but he seems to be fine. And that was like the icing on top of the cake draft night, because I'm sitting here wanting a linebacker in this draft class, right? And looking at him, and he's slipping down the board. And I know we got A.J. Brown, but so the first round goes by, he slips. Second round comes, and he's still there. And I'm begging Howie to get him. Like, would have been the perfect draft. Oh, my God. You got Jordan Davis. That was your guy, right? You traded for A.J. Brown. Like, go get me this linebacker. Yeah. And he doesn't. He drafts a dude we're not even going to see on the field this year. And I'm, classic Howie's back. And then he slips. And he gets him in the third round. I don't care what order it went. Like, this, people were still complaining. I'm like, why would it matter? Like, would it matter to you? Would it be any different if they took Nakobe Dean in the second round and Cam Jurgens in the third round? No. So who cares in which order you selected these players? You now have a solidified dog in your linebacker room next to one of the best edge rushers and a nice piece in Kaiser White. I'm all on board with this linebacking room now.
Yeah, no, it's as simple as that. It's once again, when you add some premier talent to the field, it makes everything else look a lot better. When you have Nakobe Dean back there, who you would look at as the guy, right? Like, he's going to be the middle linebacker. He's going to be the guy running the defense. Now you just need guys like Davion Taylor, like Sean Bradley, to just make a play here and there.
Yeah.
They don't have to do it all the time. And I think that's the best situation, especially when you're dealing with like young, raw talent like we have there behind those guys. So it's definitely exciting. And then you talk about Jordan Davis, but I think bringing in both of them from the same defense just won a national championship, like they come from a heavy pedigree there at Georgia. I think that's one of the best things you could do, because now you make both of them feel comfortable in the defense, and they're both going to probably get prominent roles from the jump. I mean, Jordan Davis probably won't start over Fletcher or Hargrave, but he's going to get mixed in there just like we always do with the defensive tackle rotation. But I will say, Jordan Davis, I get he has like the concerns, just the run stopping. They're concerned he may not be able to do it on passing downs, whatever the case may be. This guy is huge. And when you got a guy that huge that can move around the way that he does, I feel like similar things were said about Fletcher Cox at the time when we drafted him. So we have one of the best, as far as getting what we can out of the talent on the defensive tackle. I think we'll be able to get what we can out of Jordan Davis. And I think he can be a viable solution, especially when you look at Fletcher Cox, who probably only has one more season in Philadelphia, if we're being honest. So I'm still excited to see what he can do. I'm not Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't like hammering the table for Jordan Davis on
Yeah.
draft night. And I'm not sure that anybody really was, but it's obvious that Howie and the Eagles organization really wanted Jordan Davis. They moved up to get him. I still have my questions whether that was really moving up to get Jamison Williams and it just fell through. I do have my questions about that, but I'll let that die down. But no, I like the Jordan Davis pick. I think it kind of stays true to what they have been doing in order to make these defensive line and offensive line successful. So I actually don't mind it.
I don't mind it either. And I can definitely buy into it. Like I
Yeah,
can see
that's a
the
good way to put it.
upside of the pick. I can see the upside of the behemoth of a man that this kid is. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was on the stream of DSM's live watch party, heavily intoxicated, should not have been on at all. And I wanted Kyle Hamilton, and they moved up.
Yeah,
And I'm like, is he really going to get him? And then there's one glaring hole that the Eagles have still, and it's safety.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, I get it. You bring in this humongous rotational piece. You build in the trenches. I know that's what they do. I know I know that's a good way to build, but I think this kid could change your defense. As a safety, and they don't, and they go out and they do get the dude with some of the concerns. He's not a 3-down guy right now, right? He can only be used on first and second down. He's only going to be a rotational piece. And then especially when Baltimore takes him after, that really okay, well, yeah, Kyle Hamilton's going to be a stud. Like, right, like you
yeah,
just know, right? Like Baltimore always makes the right calls defensively through the draft. But like I said, I can easily buy into it. And when you look, I didn't like it in the moment, but when you go back and you look at the totality of draft night and the totality of this defense now, I can get with it. It's fun. I'm not angry about it. Hopefully the upside shows because
yeah.
he is human. Like when you make Fletcher Cox look tiny, I run out of words for you. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe you. You make Fletcher Cox look small, and you're what, 21 years old,
Right.
22 years old,
Young boy.
Like, so, and like you said, packaging them together is huge. And again, even though I did want Kyle Hamilton, it can't be a bad thing to have two of the better defenders on the best defense in the NCAA last year, and maybe one of the best defenses ever in the history of college football.
Yeah.
You snag two of those guys, probably doing something right. No?
Exactly.
And again, real quick, this is another guy. He's another example of not only what he can do, what he's going to do for others. What is Jordan Davis going to do for the likes of Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and Javon Hargrave?
Yeah.
He should open up everything for them. Everything. Because Fletcher Cox is used to seeing double teams. Which one you double team, Scotty?
Right.
Now you just have to hope that Fletcher can win those one-on-one battles at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Yeah, because you did have Javon Hargrave. Fletcher Cox got to be better still, but it definitely takes a little bit off of his shoulders for sure. And the one thing I did want to just throw in there, because I know you mentioned Baltimore, it was funny because the rumors came out after the draft that Baltimore was also trying to move up to get Jordan Davis as well, and they fell short to the Eagles. So it's interesting. Obviously all those rumors that come out after draft, guys are always going to signal that they wanted the guy that they drafted, right? Like you're never gonna throw it out there that like, oh, I wanted Jamison Williams, but I took Jordan Davis because I couldn't get there first, or I wanted Kyle Hamilton, or you know what I mean. So it's not like teams are gonna really come out and say that, but Kyle Hamilton would have been fun to say the least.
And
but I guess for me, when I went into that, I just knew that they wouldn't take. I knew they weren't going to take Kyle Hamilton. Like as much as I definitely understand everything you said, and he's going to go off for Baltimore. Like he's going to fit in like perfectly. But no, I think the way it's playing out, like you said, has kind of made the pick look a little bit more reasonable, just as long as this was always part of Howie's plan, of course.
Yeah, God's
But
plan.
you do gotta figure something out with that safety. I would say that would be kind of the icing on the cake, which we can touch
Yeah,
on that maybe after
yeah.
Bradbury. But
So the one last thing, your Jameson Williams point.
yeah,
I don't think that was the case. Because then what? AJ Brown was the consolation prize.
I don't
And
know.
and how quickly did that extension for AJ Brown come after the trade?
Yeah,
Came immediately after. So they already had that worked up, which means it took time to do.
yeah.
So unless what? Howie was taking him and still trading for AJ Brown? I don't see that.
I don't
Maybe,
think
but
that
I
would
don't
have
see
happened.
that. Right, but that's my point.
I
So
wouldn't call it consolation. I would just say contingency plans. So, like, if
I'm not gonna
certain
lie,
things
that's
don't
a little.
happen.
It's a little ludicrous to me if AJ Brown is the contingency plan.
But
Like,
you think
AJ
about
Brown.
what comes with AJ Brown. You're giving him an extension and you are giving up draft compensation. So, like, there is a caveat to trading rather than
Okay,
drafting.
sure.
But I do get your point.
But AJ Brown, Jameson Williams.
People were high on Jameson, man.
That's fine. Have we seen it? No. You know what I do know? AJ Brown's a top 10 wide receiver. So unless you think, not you, I'm just saying to people that are high on Jameson Williams, unless you think Jameson Williams stepping right into the game and going to be a top 10 wide receiver, it's AJ Brown, Jameson Williams. Regardless of how high you are on him coming out of the draft. AJ Brown's a top 10 wide receiver. So unless you think Jameson Williams is better than that or is going to be better than that in the next year or two, Jameson Williams is the contingency plan. That's my TED talk.
Maybe. I'm just saying, contingency plan. You have to give up extra draft compensation. You have to give out extra salary. There is a little bit of a benefit to taking a younger wide receiver. I'm not saying that is set in stone or anything like that.
No, I know. But he also had to give up draft compensation to move up, though.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That is fair enough.
And I think we all do know Howie.
Jordan Davis.
If we do know Howie, if Jordan Davis was his guy, we do know that's something he would do. Move 4 draft picks to go get his guy.
No doubt. And it's not worth, sitting here trying to figure it out because we won't. But it's just something that I thought on draft night. I was like, man, maybe Detroit just kind of stole Howie's guy, but then boom, right after that, they make the trade for AJ Brown. So you kind of forget about it.
Of course. And then
why would
so let's run down the list right now, right? So far in free agency and through the draft, Howie Roseman has traded for AJ Brown, signed Zach Pascal, drafted Jason Kelsey's long-term replacement, drafted Fletcher Cox's long-term replacement, and a guy that can play day one. Got the steal of the draft in round 3 in Nakobe Dean, a guy that can play day one. And then, signs Hassan Reddick, top 5 edge rusher in the game right now. Signs Kazir White, very nice linebacker to put in the middle of this room. And now he goes out, and we know safety will be the icing on the cake if something can get done. But as of right now, puts the cherry on top with James Bradbury.
Yeah.
So this is a hell of a move. And then you see the numbers come out that New York is paying more for James Bradbury this year than we are, technically. You see the numbers come out that he's only attributing like 2.25 or 2.75 mil to the 2022 cap of the 7.5 mil. Well, 10 with incentives, but you get my point. So not only is this a great team-friendly contract, this dude is – we were excited last year with Steven Nelson, right, when Howie went out and got Steven Nelson in August because that was a huge hole. Dude, the hole that was sitting here, you had Darius Slay, true CB1, and then it's what? It's Zach with an E, McPherson, Tay Gowan, whatever his name is. Avante going back to the outside where he doesn't belong. There's a huge gaping hole at cornerback too. And you go out and you get a team's former cornerback 1. So James Bradbury is, again, another guy that is going to be productive himself, yes, but is going to make life easier on other people as well, because he's going to complement Darius Slay, just like A.J. Brown's going to complement Devontae Smith so well. They're all going to complement each other all throughout the summer. All those battles in practice are only going to make all four of them better. And this is probably, Scotty, a top 5 cornerback duo in the league now. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? When's the last time we were able to say that? See,
probably not a time when it was actually true.
This offseason, I get it. It's all on paper. And I know the war flashbacks of the Dream Team quote and how that turned out. And everyone's scared of it. And I know we have to see it. But right now, everyone needs to be excited about this Eagles team and about this Eagles defense, because it has the potential to be top 10. You have a top 5 cornerback duo. Haven't been able to say that in years. They are prioritizing linebacker. Haven't been able to say that in years. They have a top 10 wide receiver. Haven't been able to say that in years. Howie Roseman has crushed the offseason. Haven't been able to say that in years. So there's a trend going on here in Philly right now, and I truly believe everyone should be excited about this team and specifically this defense.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the doubt and the pessimism, I think it just comes from Philly sports in general.
It's Negadelphia, right? And don't get me wrong, safety's a huge hole, because Ant Harris didn't show me much last year, to be polite. Okay, I'm not a Marcus Epps guy. I know there's people out there that think Marcus Epps can grow into something. I know the Eagles really like him. I don't see it. Kevon Wallace, love the pick. Hasn't shown any sign of improvement and doesn't even, quite frankly, get on the field enough to show any type of improvement in his 2 years in the league, right? So there's a huge hole, but I think you can hide that a bit. I think you can find a way to hide safety rather than, like, obviously, you can't hide cornerback 2. Like, cornerback 2, right, you're going to get picked at. Safety, I think you might be able to hide just a bit. And that's if Howie doesn't address it, which, you know, if they were in on Tyrann Mathieu like they seem to be, I think he clearly knows there's a hole there. And I'm not saying it's Chuck Clark. I'm not saying it's Jesse Bates, which I would love Jesse Bates. I would love Chuck Clark. But I think he dresses it in some way with some type of veteran safety to put back there. The last thing I'll say, Scotty, about this offseason and about this defense is everyone, and myself included, talks about Jalen Hurts. Like, this is the year now, right? We said it last year. He ends up getting another year. Now he's got pieces around him. Like, there's no more excuses for Jalen Hurts, right? Do you know who there's no excuses for? And I know it's only year 2 in his tenure. Jonathan Gannon. Because last year, we ripped Jonathan Gannon, rightfully so. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in the fact that he did not have the pieces defensively. He did not have the talent. And I think we know that when you look at that depth chart last year defensively, that he didn't have the pieces to successfully, implement his scheme. From what I've heard, Steven Nelson went on a podcast and was asked about Jonathan Gannon's scheme, and he said it's freaking genius. We'll see. But now you have all the pieces at your disposal to put your scheme out there. Yeah. So if I see, I apparently it's some heavy. What's he want to run, Scotty? It's a heavy cover 2, a lot of zone cover 2, getting after the quarterback, right? So if you're sitting in his zone, I know Darius Slay is going to be back a little bit. But if I see James Bradbury and Darius Slay 11 yards off the line of scrimmage, and they're getting picked apart underneath, up and down the field again, boy, genius turned out to not be so genius. So there is no more excuses for Jonathan Gannon, in my opinion. I know he's only a second-year defensive coordinator. He'd be gone if it doesn't work out, because he's got a ton of talent now defensively.
So do you, and I pose this just as a question, I'm not sure I have the answer to, but do you worry about integration at all? Like, as far as like the turnover, because you lose, and I know Rodney McLeod wasn't some world beater back there, but you lose Rodney McLeod, you lose Steven Nelson, which was 2 of your 4 starters last year. You replaced them with what I guess as of right now, full-time Marcus Epps. And then you have obviously Bradbury, which I would call that an upgrade, of
Oh yeah.
course. But do you worry about just integration at all? Like just getting like the feel of playing together? Like, does that worry you at all to where that would be maybe a passable excuse for Gannon?
No. No. Because there's too much talent. I get what you're saying, but
Because like
there's just
Nakobe
far
Dean,
too
he's
much talent.
talented, but he's a rookie too.
Who?
Nakobe Dean, like he's talented. He's probably the most talented linebacker that we've had or brought in through draft in however many years. But he is still a rookie at the same time.
Yes, but how many studs defensively have we seen come straight out of the draft and have a tremendous impact? Micah Parsons is in our division. We saw it, right?
Especially with that IQ.
TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, right? So I think it's fair to hope, or at least that we have one of our own now.
Yeah,
we have a dude that can step in day one and make a huge impact and be a vocal leader and have that high football IQ, like you mentioned.
I think if he can do that, that helps the safety position a ton. Yeah. Like you said, like just cover.
Well, and like I said, he can cover a bit because your White can cover a bit. That's going to help the safety position, right? Yeah. You did mention, not on purpose, a key word though for me: turnover. And by that, I mean turnovers.
Yeah.
Something that the Eagles did not do a lot of last year defensively. I'm expecting that number to climb dramatically. I think the Eagles I don't know if they were last, but they were like 30th maybe in takeaways last year. Can you give me middle of the pack?
Right.
Like, can you move from 30th to 15, 16, somewhere in that range? Because that changes everything. And then that gives your offense and your quarterback shorter fields and gives them more chances offensively to put points on the board for you. So when you go out and get a James Bradbury, when you go out and get a Hassan Reddick, your takeaways should tick up a bit. I would
turnovers
assume.
And sacks.
Yeah. So
100%.
Something the Eagles did not do a lot of last year.
All right, man. Let's get into the schedule. Let's get into the record prediction.
Can you tell I'm excited? I'm excited.
Yes, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, man. Let's because we are getting close to that hour mark, as you know we do every time. But we got the Eagles schedule here. It's a little small, but I know you guys can deal.
I think they can work with it.
So do you want to go game by game, just kind of making the picks, kind of like we did last season?
Yeah. By the way, everybody, this is pretty raw. I don't have a set prediction. I didn't go through these games yet with Scotty. He hasn't either. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go game by game and see where we end up through week 18 and see what kind of year this Eagles team can have. And then come September, when we get to our season kickoff show for the Eagles, we'll look back, redo it, and see if there's been any changes, because it's going to be a long something. We got, Scotty?
Probably have Jesse Bates by then. So
yeah, we have about 4 months, a little less, till that happens. So a lot of changes. Knock on wood, no injuries or major injuries throughout training camp and preseason. So we'll compare it and we'll see where we're at heading into week 1.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's get to it. We definitely want to get these in before the hour mark, I would say. So let's start 9-11, Detroit.
W.
That's a game in Detroit.
Yes.
Nonetheless, it doesn't fucking matter. They're beating Detroit. So I'm taking the win there as well. I know you got that one as a win.
Listen, Detroit's tough. Well, they're going to not tough. Detroit's going to play tough.
They'll be better.
We saw that last year. They go out, they draft Aiden Hutchinson. Who else? Who else did they get, Scotty?
Jameson Williams.
Oh, yeah. So they're going to be better. Jared Goff gets year number 2 in Detroit. Dan Campbell, they play tough, right? He's a bit of a weirdo with, biting people's elbows and stuff like that.
Say the least.
They played tough last year.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a win.
Yeah. It'll be a nice little test for the Eagles to start the season, but nothing crazy, right?
Right.
So then the next week, I believe this is Monday Night Football, but we got like the late game on this
home opener, yeah.
Against,
there's 2. It's not technically late, it's 8:30, but there's another one. It starts at like
7. Yeah. Okay. So it's not a late game then, but nonetheless, Monday Night Football hosting the Vikings, the home opener. How are we feeling about that one?
W.
W?
The Eagles will not lose they were, correct me
Can't
if I'm
lose.
wrong, the Eagles were better on the road last year than they were at home, correct?
They were. They
I'm gonna
cannot
say
lose
that,
back-to-back home openers either. They
yeah,
lost to
I'm
San
gonna
Fran
say
on their
that
home opener.
changes. Kirk Cousins on prime time
That's a
stinks.
great point. That's a great point.
Stinks.
I'm gonna go win at Vikings or win against the Vikings as well. Um, they do have a little bit of offensive firepower that does scare me, but it'll be a good test early on for the Eagles. Home primetime game, you got to take advantage, get that W. Um, week 3, we have the Washington football team, or excuse me, the
The
Commanders.
Commanders.
Commandos. We get to see them in Washington, so in Virginia, in week 3. How are we feeling about that game? Carson Wentz.
Yeah, man. There's gonna be a lot of emotion in that game for Eagles fans, and I'm sure for Carson Wentz as well. I don't enjoy saying this, but I'm gonna go with a loss here. Because I think they're gonna split with Washington this season. And normally when I go splits, for the most part, obviously it's probably not how it's gonna work out. But I go, they'll win in Philadelphia, they'll lose in Washington. So I'm gonna go with a loss here. Washington, listen, I understand we make jokes about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, at least statistically, was very good in Indianapolis last year, and his number one wide receiver was Michael Pittman Jr. You go here, he's there now with Ron Rivera, a great coaching staff, maybe where he doesn't have to be so vocal, and be the leader that teams have needed him to be in the past. You give him Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, that defense is going to be back and healthier. I think Washington. I think it's Philly and Dallas more so for the division, but I think Washington's going to be pretty tough this year.
I can agree with that. I don't know. I want to say that we're going to beat them just because it is Carson Wentz, but like the same time, I do get your point, and it is in DC. And I can't have them going like 3-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Like
that's another thing.
part of it.
I'm looking down a little bit before the bye, and I'm like,
I'll go loss at Washington, but the caveat there is I think they win either the Vikings game or the Washington game. I
okay,
think they lose one of those
okay,
games.
fair enough.
Week 4, we got the Jags at home.
Dougie P. There were Carson and Dougie P
Peterson,
back to
wow.
back. Jacksonville again. I think they're going to be. It's Trevor Lawrence year 2. Doug Peterson's there now. They spent a lot of money this offseason. I think they're going to be tougher. Still the Jags. They're still probably not going to win more than 5. Is that being generous? 5, 6?
I'd have to see their schedule.
6 and 10. So I'm going to go with a win here for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm gonna go win here. Like you said, I think they'll be better, but they're still gonna be a bottom tier team, I would say. So I'll take the win against the Jags. Week 5, we have the Cardinals, and this is in Arizona.
Yeah.
This one's interesting.
So this plays into my pick for Washington. I'm going with a win here. Because I know they went out and traded for Marquise Hollywood Brown. Nice piece, especially when D-Hop comes back. It will be no DeAndre Hopkins for this game, I believe, correct? He's out suspended for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, I think.
So he will not play in Arizona for this one. I think that the Eagles will force Kyler Murray into some turnovers in this one, and I think they'll come away with a W.
This one's tough for me, man, because just how I know I'm going to go the following week is kind of playing into this. Because it's like, do I picture the Eagles beating the Cards and the Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks in a row?
Right.
Because I do think there's a strong part of me that feels like they do beat the Cards in Arizona. But I'm gonna go loss against Arizona. Just because it is in Arizona. It is against Kyler Murray, who's a mobile quarterback who could give us a little bit of trouble, but I don't know. It's more about just.
Can I say something?
The schedule, I guess. Huh?
Can I say something? That is where these linebackers come into play for me. That has been a huge thorn in the Eagles'
Yeah.
defense's side in the past with mobile quarterbacks, with Lamar Jackson, with Kyler Murray, with Russell Wilson, right? The guys that can get out of the pocket and extend plays and use their legs. That's why I think these linebackers can help tremendously. Now it's
Fair
interesting
enough.
because you're going to fade. You're going to go the other way with these two games. I'm going win in Arizona. You're going to loss because of what you're doing in Week 6. This pains me to say, especially being in Philly.
Yeah.
I'm going with a loss here against Dallas heading into the bye. I know.
That one's going to hurt, man.
I know.
Especially if we beat the Cards the week before.
Especially with a bye then, because now I got to think about it long.
Yeah. I'm going, obviously, I'm going win against Dallas at home. I do think we split with Dallas.
Me too.
So I got us losing the next one, but
me too. Part of me, another reason for that pick, Scotty, is what we said about the schedule, right? Now, again, I'm extremely high on this Eagles team, so maybe it's wrong of me to assume that they can't go 5-1 into the bye. But if I pick a win there, they're 5-1 into the bye.
Yeah.
Do I see that right now? Not yet. So I'll have 4-2 into bye week.
I kind of look at this game, maybe the biggest game in the early part of the season, obviously being a divisional game, being against the Cowboys, who you think you're competing with. Man, it seems like a changing of tide game could happen that week, especially if the Eagles are able to take care of business at home against Dallas. And potentially that could be the leg up that they need over Dallas, going into the later part of the season. So I do look at that as like one of the big like benchmark games for the Eagles. Like, is this team a real contending team right now in the NFC? An 11 or 12 win Cowboys team that we saw a year ago. So whether they win or lose, we'll see. I have them winning, you have them losing, but I do think it's going to be a big game nonetheless as far as the early part of the season there.
I agree. And I hope I'm wrong. Sunday Night Football as well.
Sunday Night Football, exciting. Wow.
Listen, I think that game can honestly tell you a lot about this team, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong for picking them to lose here, but if they can beat Arizona and Dallas back to back heading into bye, if they can be 5-1, 4-2, have a statement win like that against your division rival, the team that you're probably going to be competing for the division title this year, that would be a huge win early on. So you have 4-2 heading into the bye as well?
Yeah.
All right. So coming out of the bye, we have Pittsburgh. Will it be Mitch Trubisky? Will it be Kenny Pickett? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a W
that's
for the
kicker with them. Pittsburgh would be tough, but it's the quarterback situation nonetheless. I'm going to go win there.
They lose Juju. I know Deontay Johnson's a nice piece. I know Najee Harris is a nice piece, but I do think the Eagles take care of business.
Yeah, same.
So
then week 9.
And then we get to the mess that is the Houston Texans. 8:15. Is that a Monday night game?
I hope not. Maybe a Thursday night.
Hold on. We have back-to-back? No, yeah. One of them has to be a Thursday night because I'm looking here with back-to-back night games.
Because the Steelers game's on October 30th.
Right.
And then
so Thursday.
Texans on the 3rd. So I think Texans is a Thursday night football game.
Wow. Eagles in Houston for Thursday night football. Who the hell did that? And why did I not notice it earlier? But I'm going with a win regardless.
Yeah, same. So we're at.
So help me God, Scotty. Do not let Davis Mills pick them apart on Thursday night football.
Oh my God. We'll know if that's coming by that point.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah.
At that point in the season. But week 10, we got Washington Commandos at home.
Commandos. That's a W. Monday Night Football. That is a W, my friend.
Yeah, we're definitely splitting at the very least with Washington.
I agree.
So I got that as a W as well.
This is crazy. What am I at here? 7-2?
7-2. What about in Indy?
Loss. Matt Ryan, I think, is a very nice fit in Indy. Very good defense. Jonathan Taylor is back, obviously. They don't have a lot. I don't think Indy's going to be overwhelming. I just think they're a very solid team.
They're always solid. Yeah.
Especially with it being on the road, coming off of Monday Night Football. Short week. I'll go the loss here, 7-3.
I'm gonna go loss there, but with a caveat. So if they do lose to Indy, then I have them beating the Titans. But for now, I'm going to go with a loss against Green Bay and then a loss against the Titans.
Okay. I'm going with a loss against Green Bay and a win versus the Titans.
Got you. So I had
So
2 losses. So, I need to go win at, I'm going win at Titans because I went loss at Indy. But I guess what I'm saying is it's going to be either one of those. I don't think we're
okay.
gonna lose
Okay.
3 in a
So
row.
what am I at now?
Um,
I was at 7-2, 7-3, 7-4. I'm at 8-4.
yeah, 8 and
All
4,
right.
same as me.
And then I'm going to go with a win against the Giants and a win against Justin Fields and the Bears at Soldier Field. 3 straight road games coming up.
Yeah, I'm going win against both of those teams. I think we sweep the Giants this year. I mean, the last game might not
So,
even matter, but I'm going win. What is that? In New York?
yep,
Yeah,
the
in
first
New
one, yeah.
York and then in Chicago, which Chicago, we'll see what I mean, they could be a surprise this year, but as of right now, based on what I've seen and what they've done, I'm not too scared of Chicago.
Yeah. So
Got Dallas on Christmas in Dallas.
Christmas Eve. This is where I'm going with the W. We are going to spoil Christmas for a lot of kids that are Dallas Cowboys fans.
So I'm going to go loss here.
All right.
Just because I do need us to split. I think we'll split with the
Way to
Cowboys.
ruin my Christmas, Scotty.
I know. It's going to ruin mine too. Don't worry.
So now I'm down here, and I believe I have them with 11 wins at the moment. And I have a caveat here for the Saints. If they need to win the game, like to solidify the division title, to solidify a playoff berth, they win at home.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go loss for now and then win versus the Giants. I think they split the last 2 games. So they either need to win week 17, they do, and then week 18 doesn't matter. They lose with the bench against the Giants, or they lose versus Saints and then win week 18 against the Giants to get into the playoffs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So ultimately, I got them at 12-5 and winning 1, 2, 3, 4, going 5-1 down the stretch.
So I have them at 11. So I have one less win. So what, 11 and
11-6.
Yeah.
With the extra game now, yeah.
Yeah, so I have them losing to Dallas on Christmas Eve, beating New Orleans on New Year's Day, and then losing to the Giants because it won't matter. So they could very well end up with 12. I could easily decide that they beat the Giants at the end, but I'll be modest and I will go 11-6.
I think either one gets you. I think either one gets you the division.
Yeah, and I
11,
think
12.
honestly, with a lot of those, man, there will be some surprises, I think, but then for some of them, we are being like really modest as well.
Yeah, so this schedule's interesting, man, because there's a little tough stretch of like you have Washington on Monday night, in Indy, Green Bay, Tennessee. Like there's a little bit of a tough stretch there, but there's no gauntlet of games like you had in the first, weeks 2 through 7 last year.
Yeah.
You also had to play the Chargers. You had to play the Raiders. There was a lot of tough games last year. It didn't really get easy until the final between 5 and 6 games down the stretch there where the division was loaded up in the back end. With this one, I think it's very balanced throughout where I look at every game on here. Like I know I have them losing to Green Bay. I don't know what Green Bay is going to be this year with the lack of weapons around Aaron Rodgers right now. I have them losing in Indy. Indy doesn't have weapons outside of Jonathan Taylor. They could win either of those games. So, like I said, I'm not going to pick them to go 14-3 or anything ridiculous. But with the upgrades that they've made on paper, at least right now, for the fact that I expect Jalen Hurts to at least progress a tiny bit, I had them at, 11, 12 wins, and I think that wins you the title. I think 11 gets you the division title in the NFC East this year. And I'll wrap it up by saying this, man. I know we're all expecting or hoping that Jalen Hurts progresses, but so this was a 9-win playoff team last year. Rookie head coach and Nick Sirianni, basically rookie quarterback and Jalen Hurts. The supporting cast that they had, Gannon's all-time horrible defense, right? 9-win playoff team with a more difficult schedule. So even if Jalen Hurts doesn't progress at all, he's not going to be worse. He's not going to regress in year 2, right? So even if he's just what he was, right? This is the baseline. He stays here with this supporting cast, with this defense, with this schedule. They're at minimum, they're not going to lose, they're not going to win only 8 games. So they're at minimum probably a 9 to 10 win team. If he doesn't progress, I think with the schedule, with the addition of A.J. Brown and everything you did defensively, and for the fact that I expect Jalen Hurts to at least take a little bit of a step as a quarterback, I think it's extremely fair to say with 11 wins, and I only have 12 because of how easy the schedule seems to be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being crazy. We're not sitting here after a bad Eagles year being like, this is our year, right? Like, we're not saying, no. If you take everything into account, I think this team is better, and maybe they're only better by 2 games. Maybe they're better than by 3 games than what they were last year, but they're better.
Are they better as in getting to the second round of the playoffs? Getting a playoff win?
I think so, because a division title, you'll have a home playoff game. You will not be on the road against the defending champs and the GOAT, right? Knock on wood, the GOAT doesn't have to come here for a playoff. They somehow they don't win their division, but
somehow, man, or
they'll
we'll get the 49ers or something.
Yeah, that won't be a problem. But absolutely. Look, I'm not going to sit here, especially with the questions I have about our quarterback, the most important position in all of sports, and suggest that the Eagles are going to make some Super Bowl run. However, I want to have a conversation with people that think it's totally outlandish, because it's not. And it's not just Eagles fans. And I'm not saying, national people and, analysts' words are, law. But when you had the recognition coming nationally now of what Howie Roseman has put together this offseason, and they know what Jalen Hurts is, like, no one's overly faithful in Jalen Hurts to be an MVP candidate or anything. They're saying that the Eagles could be a dangerous team this year and make a run. So it's not outlandish to think they can win 11 12 games, win a division, because there hasn't been a repeat division winner in a decade and a half now. So Dallas, the odds would suggest Dallas isn't going to do it. Yeah, Scotty, I think it's more than fair to say they could win a playoff game this year.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts, it's going to come down to him in certain situations and just making the winning play. Like, it can really be all so simple for him. And a lot of those.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So Nick Sirianni, I think we all forget that Nick Sirianni just decided not to run the football the first 5 weeks, 6 weeks of the season. Remember that? Seems like an eternity ago, but he didn't run the football. And what else did we see in the first 6 weeks, Scotty? Him trying to force feed the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Right? With the addition of A.J. Brown, who we already discussed, lives in the short to intermediate stuff, right? Dallas Goedert can work the middle of the field. Devontae Smith can do short to intermediate stuff and take the top off defense. Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, the screen game, the rushing game. If you're Nick Sirianni, don't you sit here and say, I'm going to run the football, do what I do best, and I'm going to let Jalen dink and dunk his way down the field. And I'll take shots here and there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to try to force feed the ball down the field play after play like I did last year. Is that a recipe for success for Jalen Hurts? That's what I'm trying to get to. Like, we saw, I am not suggesting he's Tom Brady. But what did we see Tom Brady basically make a living out of? Picking his way down the field, right?
Yeah.
Quick hitters. Can you not do that with Jalen Hurts? And because of what you have around him right now?
I think you can. I think last year you just simply didn't have a wide receiver that can break one off after, breaking a tackle. Like, you literally just didn't have that. Like, Devontae Smith is a great wide receiver. He's a route technician. Like, he can run all the routes. He can make all the catches. He's not the greatest after the catch. He's not going to break a ton of tackles and get yak. Reagor is Reagor. We know who he was. Quez Watkins. He's a speed guy. He's not going to do a ton after the catch. He can break a big one. Let's not, forget what he can do, but he's not the big body that A.J. Brown is. So then Dallas Goedert was your guy that is the guy that can, break tackles after the catch. now he's a secondary option in that facet to AJ
Dan
Brown.
Orlovsky has talked about it, dude. They're going to be extremely difficult
It's
to
hard.
tackle.
You talk about the screens that they can run. You can run a fake
and
screen to Dallas Goedert, bring it back to AJ Brown on the other side of the field, and have nobody in front of. I mean, it's
absolutely,
incredible
man.
what they'll be able to do.
And Jason, I literally just said this, man. They were a 9-win playoff team last year with a more difficult schedule, with a way worse supporting cast, a way worse defense, and year one of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. 9 wins. They are not going to go backwards. If Jalen Hurts is still here, that's it. He doesn't improve at all. They're going to win 10-plus games regardless. That's how much they are improved as a team. That's how easy the schedule is. And he's good enough to win you. If he was good enough to win you 9 games last year, he can win you 10 games this year. And I think they'll win 11 or 12.
And the one last thing I'll throw in about the offense and Jalen Hurts, even like making his life easier, what we've talked about the entire time. No more double teams on Devontae Smith. No more double teams on Dallas Goedert. Like, you're not going to be able to do stuff like that. So it's going to make life easier on everybody. But I think Jalen Hurts, like you said, there's not much that we are asking of him. I think, like, do what you did last year, just a little bit better, and you're going to have a lot more easier opportunities in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to turn into what we have talked about, a double-digit win season at the very least. But no, it's exciting, man, and it was great to get back on here today and
it was
talk
good,
some
doesn't
football. We got a ton more to get into before the season actually even starts. But late June, I think we're going to be back on here, bringing it back weekly. But no, it was definitely great to get out here, get engaged with everybody that's ready for the football season. We had a rough end to the Sixers season, so we needed to get this optimism going. But
listen, man,
the Eagles are looking promising, man.
Isn't it funny how sports work? Not too long ago, we were sitting here in just so much emotion of, happiness and faith in the fact that we traded for James Harden and Joel Embiid's going to be the MVP and they're going to make a run. And we signed Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos and the Phillies are going to make the playoffs finally. And now we're sitting here at the end of May. The Sixers just got embarrassingly bounced from the playoffs in round 2 again. The Phillies are 8 games out of the division in May. The Flyers were an absolute dumpster fire this year, and we're coming off an embarrassing Eagles performance in the playoffs last year. So Philly sports have not been kind to us as of late, and right now I'm sitting here thinking that the Eagles could be the team to turn that around.
Hopefully,
yeah. Hopefully the Phillies can turn it around, but we'll see.
Definitely gave us the offseason that we probably couldn't have predicted. But that's the start. That's where we're at right now, and this is what we have to go off of. But let's go ahead and get out of here, my man. Sunday afternoon ahead of us.
Phillies are on.
A lot of brews to be endured, but
is there?
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that, brother. Definitely, guys, make sure if you're not already subscribed to DSM Media, make sure you subscribe to DSM Media on YouTube. Turn the notifications on. Like we said, we got content coming out daily. Turf Talk is back, so we're going to get into a lot more deeper NFL conversations. But we got our daily Phillies, Union, and then, of course, the morning show. We got it all covered. Golf, we got it across the board. Make sure you're subscribed to DSM Media on YouTube. Following DSM Media on all social media accounts, at DSM_media on Twitter, at DSM.DoSomethingMajor on Instagram, and at DSM Media on TikTok. We're putting content out there every single day. Make sure you follow along. For myself, at Scotty Drown, and for my co-host here, at DylanJD98, make sure you go give both of us a follow. We'll be bringing the sports hot takes all NFL season. But for myself, for Dylan, have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Cheers to football season. Cheers to Eagles football. Go Birds.
Oh, yes.